Information was not instant. We had to research deeply. We were taught to challenge ideas, and we asked very thoughtful questions to uncover truths rather than just passively consuming information. Now, I'm not saying that everyone in our generations were good at this, but as a whole, as a generalization, we were. So we were actually taught to dig deeper, to go finding, to evaluate sources. We didn't have things arriving in the palm of our hand. It actually makes us naturally suited to interacting with AI, because here's the thing. AI and our engagement with it thrives on precise and well-structured inputs. Hey there, and welcome back to the Speaker Driven Business Podcast. I am really looking forward to this particular episode and this conversation with you. You would have known if you're anywhere in my world, and if you're not, welcome to our world. I can't wait to get to know you a little bit better. But you would already know that one of the things I'm very passionate about, and have been since chat slammed into our world and the natural language platforms and things like that for AI, since they slammed into our world in late 2022, I've been very passionate about the fact that your greatest competitive advantage into the future is going to be your authentic voice. So the expertise that you know to be true, the language that you use, the way that you speak into the world, that is going to be your number one competitive advantage, particularly when it comes to rapid creation of trust, solidifying the ability to help and assist, and for people to actually know that you are not only real, but you have the expertise and the insights and the wisdom that they're looking for. So I still hold that position. I still believe that your spoken word content in your authentic voice delivered from platforms and stages is going to be your number one competitive advantage into the future. What I have since discovered is that this is a yes and. So it's not that your competitive advantage is your voice and your language and your insights and your wisdom only in an age of AI. It is your voice and your wisdom and your insights and the power of AI. But we're not talking about the power of AI to create your content, to systemize your processes, all of that sort of stuff, even though we absolutely love all of that. When AI was first slamming into our world in late 2022, when all of the platforms such as ChatGPT and Jasper and the rest of them really came to the forefront, I knew instantly that this was a change. This was a step change. Now, a step change is when things change so dramatically that it's forever felt. Now, this was seismic. It was a step change. And one of the things I did immediately was by January 2023, we had one of the AI experts for coaches actually live into one of our program rooms here in Australia with a bunch of female entrepreneurs who have got speaking driven businesses. We had that expert live into our room for half a day, within moments, weeks of the impact of everything slamming into our world in 2022, because I knew it was a game changer. I knew that this was going to be the thing that was the same as the smartphone, the internet, the printing press, that this would change forever what we're doing. I was absolutely adamant at that time that we need to understand how it worked. We need to be able to look at the productivity and the efficiency gains that it brought. But I was also very clear, be very careful how you use it when it comes to your speaking. Now, the distinction that I now have is be very careful how you use it when it comes to your speaking and your content, but embrace it and go deep with it when it comes to what it can do for your speaking-driven business. And that's a key distinction I want you to understand as we move through this. So we've actually been going deep. We've been playing with it. I'm definitely not afraid of it. I know that some people are a little bit wary of it. And there are some key elements that we're going to speak into. But what I've discovered over the last probably 3 to 6 months that has really surprised me is that there are so many people still resisting it. And I get it and I understand it, and I understand your concerns, right from, is my data really private? Well, do your due diligence. This is not open slather. Through to things like, what if my IP is not protected? There's so many concerns. And so I understand where that resistance comes from, but it also means that right now, it's not going to seem to make much of a difference to your ability to cut through. But if you don't understand how to use this and integrate it into your speaking-driven business, then in the future, the gap between you and what you have, you and those in the market who do embrace this the right way, is going to just widen. And that will make your future a lot more difficult to navigate. So over the last 3 to 6 months. And the reason why I'm focusing on that is because I guess it has surprised me in recent times how many people are still resistant to it. So I found there's literally 5 levels of user when it comes to AI. And the first level is level 1, is the avoid. So these are the people who have never used AI or have very limited awareness of its capabilities. Now, to be really fair to everyone in my world, this probably actually represents my father and his wife. So that's what I'm talking about, like never used it, really avoiding it. Though also when you come back to our generation and the generations following us, if they're avoiding it, generally speaking, you're feeling a little intimidated or skeptical about its relevance. And I get that. Major change is hard to adjust to, so I really do get that. What we see in language and attitude is that AI is viewed as complex. It's not for people like me. There's a fear that AI could resist human functionality completely, which nothing could be further from the truth. And at this level, we avoid engaging with AI tools, even when somebody else introduces us to them. Now, here, I'm not talking about those of you that are too busy to get your head around it at the moment, but those people who are actively avoiding it. What we also find at this avoidant level is that you might have seen AI tools in action, but you haven't used them directly. So you're definitely aware of it. And you will observe AI suggestions on your phone or in apps and things like that, but that's really the extent of your use. So that's level 1. The next level that we're finding, we're getting a lot of people to very quickly simply because of how familiar we are with it all now. Level 2 is the cautious experimenter. So the cautious experimenter has started experimenting with the AI tools, but in a hesitant, limited way. So it's more about seeing if it can do the little things. They're open to learning about it, but really unsure about broader applications. So it's kind of almost like 1 foot in and 1 foot out. The indicators are that you're using it sparingly, often for very specific or low-risk tasks, as I mentioned. You do require step-by-step instructions still, and you want to know what the next step is, which is prompts and things like that. And you do question AI's reliability and also, I guess, your capacity to use it effectively. You're using it for basic content generation, like brainstorming headlines or social posts or writing emails for you. You're asking simple, one-dimensional questions to AI tools, and you are using voice assistants like Siri and Alexa occasionally, but not leveraging the full capabilities of what AI has actually become. Then we have the next level up, which is the practical user. And we have so many people now getting to this level and above in our communities and our client bases, and it makes me really excited because we're getting to the point where it's actually making a difference. So at this level, you understand potential, you incorporate into your workflow, you use it to save time and effort, but only in areas where you're really already feeling confident. And that's more than okay, by the way. With people who are the practical user level, you've got a go-to set of AI tools that you rely on for specific purposes. You don't really look outside of that. You see AI as helpful, but you haven't actually explored how you can customize it and integrate it into more of what you do. And you're open to exploring, but unsure where to start because you really don't know what's possible. And that makes it feel like it's difficult to start. You're using things for content drafting, idea generation, refining your written work. You're also using it, you're starting to use it to kind of research some trends, see if you can identify your audience a little more, or using it to summarize big data. And you might be taking it on for basic customer support tasks or simple automations in your workflows. So that is the practical user at level 3. Now, level 4, this is where it starts to get fun. Level 4 is all about the strategic integrator. So this is where you are actively integrating AI into multiple aspects of your work and your life. You actually see AI as a strategic partner enhancing their efficiency and creativity. It was actually at this point in our online workshop that somebody dropped into the comments, my husband is so glad that I now have a strategic buddy with AI with my chat because he no longer has to listen to me with all my bright ideas every day. So just really quite interesting what's coming up for people. They use AI tools across a lot of domains, so marketing, sales, personal productivity, across the board. They experiment with prompt engineering or customizing workflows, so they're really getting into it. And they keep up with advancements in AI and regularly evaluate new tools. Now, I believe I'm somewhere between level 4, which is this strategic integrator, and the next level. But I will be honest, I'm actually relying on people I know, love, and trust to bring me those insights of where I should start, because it can be overwhelming, and I get that. We're using it to build frameworks, templates, and systems with AI assistance, so it's actually accelerating. We're personalizing content generation, targeted messaging. We're automating all of our repetitive tasks, and we're using AI for advanced research, competitor analysis, audience segmentation, psychographic drivers, and things like that. Then level 5 is the super user. Now, in some days, I think I'm a super user. Other days, I think I'm actually probably pretty close to an avoider. So that's the thing. We can move between levels as well. And then both the beauty and the curse with AI is that it's evolving so fast that one day we may be a super user and the next day we're simply back down to practical user. So the super user has mastered AI tools and leverages them to creatively innovate and lead. And this is where the first clue comes in for you of why, as a speaker or a speaking-driven business, you really need to be at the forefront of this. It constantly pushes the boundaries of AI capabilities. As a super user, you're pushing back, right? Now, leading and innovating the market, let me touch back on that for a moment. That is really important as a speaker, as a knowledge expert, as somebody who leads with knowledge, expertise, and insights, is when you actually get to super user level and you can almost wrestle and wrangle with AI, you are going to be able to actually co-create things that will actually really take you to the front of the market. And if you say you're leading a market and you're not embracing AI, you will be gazumped by the people who are already leading the market and bring AI into play. So it's really, really important. So people who are a super user using AI for complex, high-value tasks that require customization and innovation, they will usually actually combine AI tools to create unique solutions. Now, we have a colleague in my world who is absolutely doing that, blowing my mind with what he's able to do. But he's one of those people who can look at all the dots and look at all the points and connect them and synthesize them really quickly. So those people are dominating in this space. They also are able to teach others how to use AI effectively, or they're building AI-powered tools and services. They use AI, the super users, for creating proprietary AI models tailored to their business needs. And this is where, over the next few years, this is where you may live and die by AI, because it's business needs and customer needs, and it's extraordinary where you can take it. Automating entire workflows from lead generation to project management, training AI tools with their own data to replicate their expertise. Now, any of you who are in an expert-led business, which is consulting, advisory, or education-based, this one got my attention, because in my consulting practice days in a previous life, I always saw sustainability, future sustainability of my business, as being not just speaking into the market, because that was my first, speaking driven business that I raised. I spoke to the market to get my clients and grow my business. But I always believed that future sustainability was in raising an army of minions in my likeness. And I didn't mean look like me, talk like me, but actually thought like me and knew how to use my work and my IP like me. And that was always my approach. This takes it to the next level, right? And I love it. They're also using at super user level, they're using AI to develop new methodologies and frameworks and insights powered by AI. Now, this is really important. We're going to unpack that a little bit later. So before I actually move on here, and I know you're listening along, you may be watching on YouTube, but if you are actually listening along and you're driving, please don't stop right now. But if you are actually at the desk or, having a cup of coffee while you're listening to this, I just really want you to think about, where do you really sit on that continuum? Are you at number 1, the avoider? Number 2, the cautious experiment. Number 3, the practical user. Number 4, the strategic integrator. Or number 5, are you already a super user? And trust me, if you're already a super user, number 1, congratulations. Number 2, you may not actually need this session. And number 3, I'd love to connect. So that's all well and good to look at those 5 levels. But what is our superpower really when it comes to this? Well, if we were in a room right now, I'd be asking you to put your hands up if you're a baby boomer or Gen Xer, or on the cusp of millennials and Gen Xers. And the reason is this: AI is actually our power advantage if we are in those generations, because we are the generations that created machine learning and took it beyond expectation. We are the generations who invented and morphed machine learning into AI. We need to think about this. The younger generations, so the CEO of, or the founder of Open.ai is so young. I think he's born in the late 1980s. So when I'm saying so young compared to me. There is no doubt the extraordinary talent that the generation that he belongs to have, but we forget we created it, right? We morphed it. We created machine learning, we took it a long way, and we morphed it into these full AI applications. Now, let's back it up a minute for some history. Machine learning as a concept was actually born in the 1950s. Can you believe that? And data modeling, which really took machine learning to the next level, took off in the 1970s, which is when machine learning really became something that became more mainstream. Then deep learning, which is machine learning on steroids, really started in the early 2000s, and that's 20 to 25 years ago now. Right? So this is not new. It's just our awareness and its infiltration into our general everyday life. That's the bit that's new. Now let's go to AI. AI was formally established in 1956 at the Dartmouth Conference. Artificial intelligence became a concept officially recognized during that conference. AI actually took off in the 1950s and 1960s. This, to me, makes me think that that's why the Jetsons thing was made, because they knew it was coming. But then AI went into what they call the AI winter, which went through all the 1970s. What's really interesting about this is that it's not that our brains weren't able to do it. It's not that machine learning weren't able to do it. It's not that even AI programming was not able to do it. The holdup was simply computing power. The computing power was not strong enough to take it any further at that time. And because it had been on such a lift until then, interest really waned, right? And it didn't resurge again until partway through the 1980s, when we had a shift to data-driven approaches. Now, if you're listening to this podcast thinking, I'm a speaker, why do I need to know this? I just want you to know that this is not new. And this is something that it's not yesterday's invention. The platforms may be a couple of years old.